It's been a journey, that's for sure. This definitely has had its ups and had its downs. But one thing I definitely realized when I started medical school is that no matter how much people tell you that it's going to be a lot and it's going to be kind of busy, you never really realize until you're actually in it. It doesn't hit you, especially because I'm someone that definitely tied my kind of self-worth to my academic achievements quite a lot. I really struggled, especially with the first 2 years where we were mostly at medical school and doing lectures and everything. It was just working way too hard and my work-life balance was completely off.
Hey, my name is Anisha Patel and I'm obsessed with all things career development. Whether that's navigating your professional journey, gaining clarity, or building the confidence to reach your goals, I'm here to support you in crafting your roadmap to success. I've grown a podcast that has reached thousands of people across the globe. I'm growing an online business and I'm stepping outside of my 9-to-5 to build a career of my dreams. I've walked the path of transformation myself, and now I'm here to share insights, strategies, and stories to help you carve out a career that you love, or even a podcast you've been dreaming of creating but you've not taken the leap to start yet. If you want to connect with me in between podcast episodes, I share my personal career insights and behind-the-scenes stories with my newsletter community, which you can join using the link in the show notes. This is the Pharmacist Diaries podcast. Hey there, friends. Today's episode is extra special because it's the start of an amazing 3-part series. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Leya Luhar, who's not only crushing it in medical school, but is also the founder of OSCE Toolbox, a platform that's helping thousands of pharmacy students ace their practical exams. And in this first episode, we're diving deep into Leya's incredible journey from choosing medicine to becoming an entrepreneur, all while studying. We're covering multiple topics: her path to choosing medicine, how she spotted a gap in the OSCE preparation and turned it into a successful platform, real talk about balancing medical school with running a business, the challenges that she's overcome, including mental health struggles, what she's learned about leadership and building a team from scratch, and how OSCE Toolbox grew to support over 2,000 students. Plus, stick around for the rest of the series. In episode 2, we'll tackle the big medicine versus pharmacy debate. And in episode 3, we're breaking down the massive changes coming to the pharmacy education platforms in 2026. Let's dive in. Hello.
Hi.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
We've literally been planning this series for 3 to 4 months now.
Yes, a long time.
So I'm really excited to have you on the podcast.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, perfect. Let's dive into my kind of first question that I always ask my usual podcast guests, is obviously why they start pharmacy. But for you, why did you choose medicine?
Okay, so it all started when I was just a teeny tiny primary school student, actually. And I didn't realize that I had any sort of kind of academic gift until like year 5. I think the teachers told my parents that I was like one of the top in my class in parents' evening. And I remember my aunt having a conversation with me. She was like, right, you're clever. So what do you want to do in life? And I said, I don't know, something that makes me like money and makes me happy. And she was like, okay, so what about being a doctor? And I was like, no, I'm scared of blood. I can't handle the sight of blood. And she said, okay, lawyer. And I said, okay, lawyer it is. So at first I decided I was going to be a lawyer. And then I started thinking about, at a young age, it's quite interesting actually, I started thinking, oh, what if I get in some morally grey situations? Now, obviously that can happen with everything. But at that point I was just thinking, as a lawyer, I feel like it maybe happens a lot. And I started Googling and finding that when you Google like most depressing profession, lawyer seems to come up quite a lot. So I said, okay, lawyer's off the table. And my mom is an accountant. So she said, oh, I do accounting. You could do it so easily. So I said, okay, I'm going to become an accountant. And then I started dabbling in accounting. And I actually have still like continued to dabble in accounting and studies and stuff. And then I realized I just couldn't see myself doing it every day. So then I was careerless. I had no future plans. And I remember realizing that I wasn't afraid of blood anymore. I didn't go weak in the knees, so doctor was on the table again. And from there, that was basically it, because the more I looked into medicine and actually being a doctor, the more I was like, actually, this is really perfect for me. I love the science behind it. I love like helping people, talking to people. I'm not too bothered about the money, so I'm not really worried about the financial situation. And I just the whole diagnosis process and that kind of thing. There was everything about being a doctor I was in love with. So I just grew closer and closer to medicine, and it just worked out. And anything else that sort of came into my path that I considered didn't give me that same motivation that medicine did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A good little story.
Yeah.
It is quite hard to make decisions about what you're going to do in your career in the UK so early.
Definitely.
You're considering it from GCSE point onwards, where you're 15 years old and you're kind of expected to figure out what you're meant to do. And this situation baffles me because I've got children now. I've got a 7-year-old and she's got her idea of what she wants to do. YouTuber being one of them, pop star, pharmacy, because she sees me.
Yeah.
But recently she actually told me, she's like, nah, I don't think I want to be a pharmacist. I've changed my mind.
Oh, no. Did she say why?
She just wants to do something a bit more fun, which is cool. So, I think at the age of 15, I'm imagining what she's going to be like, right? And it's going to be difficult to make those decisions so early on. And I went to high school in America. So I did an undergraduate degree in biology and chemistry before I did pharmacy. So 4 years undergraduate there. And one of the beauties about going to university in the US is that you don't have to choose your degree pathway in the first year. So if you don't know what you want to do, first year is all about figuring that out. And you take certain elective style modules that help you to understand elements of who you are, your passions, your interests. And then you have to choose your degree pathway by sort of year 2. And though I knew I was going to go into something healthcare related, most likely medicine is what my kind of plans were, to become a pediatrician. Mm-hmm. I knew that I would have to choose something sciencey, so biology and chemistry was just a given for me. But you do have the option of taking it slower if you want to, if you genuinely don't have an idea. Mm-hmm. And you can switch majors even after second year if you really want to, and you add on the extra modules to get you to the point that you choose the exact career pathway. Mm. And as a student, you have this massive handbook where you pick all these different modules that link to the major that you're choosing. And say you're partway through year 2 and you're like, no, I need to just completely flip the script and I'm going to go down this pathway. You can do summer schools to make up some of the additional modules and then change pathways. It's great because it just gives you that flex. But if you are here in the UK and you just automatically choose pharmacy or you automatically choose medicine, you kind of have to start from step 1 and apply to university all over again because it's really difficult to transfer the credits. Mm-hmm. Some might be applicable, but you do the whole application process again, which is really different. And you qualify as a professional, like as a 21-year-old, whilst in the US, you do your undergraduate degree, like really immerse yourself in university, learning about who you are, what you want to do. And a lot of people then choose like the graduate options, or then they go into their lawyer, pharmacist, medicine, or after that. Yeah. So you just get a little bit more headspace, I think, to figure out your options. I'm so excited, obviously, that you've chosen medicine, and I meet medical students at work all the time, and we've even got some FY1s on the ward that they're so green and naive to like what's happening, and it's good though. I enjoy engaging with obviously medical students and doctors on the wards. It's part and parcel of the job, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about your student journey though. What has, medical school been like for you? What have been the ups and the downs, the challenges, obstacles? Dive into it. Before we dive into the next part of this episode, I want to share something I've been absolutely loving lately. I bought these blue light blocking glasses from OsCE and I'm absolutely obsessed. As a pharmacy student or pharmacist, we are constantly staring at screens all day long. And for me personally, I'm also using them several evenings of the week when I work on my podcast. So I was feeling really guilty about this and having so much screen time in the evening. And I knew it was definitely impacting my sleep quality. So I treated myself to these glasses. I wear them every night when I get home from work, and I'm absolutely loving it. The frames are really stylish, and more importantly, they obviously filter out the really harsh blue light that can negatively impact your sleep cycle and cause eye fatigue. I've noticed a really big difference in my sleep quality, and I wanted to share it with you because it might be a tip for something that you could treat yourself to as well. I found a 20% off family and friends discount code on their website, which you can access from the link in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode.
Oh, great question. It's been a journey, that's for sure. This definitely has had its ups and had its downs, but I can't say, I think one thing I definitely realized when I started medical school is that no matter how much people tell you that it's going to be a lot and it's going to be kind of busy, you never really realize until you're actually in it. It doesn't hit you, especially because I'm someone that definitely tied my kind of self-worth to my academic achievements quite a lot. I really struggled, especially with the first 2 years where we were mostly at medical school and doing lectures and everything, and was just working way too hard, and my work-life balance was completely off. So it's been difficult, but I definitely, since then, and going into placement and having a little bit more freedom with my time and taking ownership on my learning, I think from third year and fourth year, I really learned how to manage that in a way that worked for me a lot better. And I still definitely had episodes of burnout, but it was completely different. But overall, it's been so much fun. Like I would 100% go back and choose like medicine again. And I just the things that you learn. I just like right now I'm on a break from medicine, so I'm doing a master's in healthcare management before I go back to final year next year. And I was in the hospital the other day, and I just loved it. I love the hospital environment. It just feels like home for me, and it always has. Like even before I started medical school, I really liked hospital environments. So I'm really excited to get back to it. Yeah.
Awesome. I love the hospital too. I do
Right?
totally feel at home on a ward.
Yeah.
You just get into the groove when you're on there. You know your routine, you know the people,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of banter, fun banter, NHS banter.
Yeah.
where you-
NHS match.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about figuring out your entrepreneur journey as a student. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You're figuring out medicine, figuring out who you are, studying really hard, you're doing your placements, going into the hospital environment during this time, and you identify a gap within pharmacy. It's not even within medicine. Like, how did that come about for OSCE Toolbox?
So it actually was because of my own OSCEs. So when we first started practicing for OSCEs, we started in year 2 of medicine. No, we started in year 1, sorry. We started in year 1 of medicine practicing for our OSCEs, and we would have these small group sessions as a group of 8. And there was the tutor who would examine us. And what happened is they'd bring an actor in, and we would have to practice with the actor. And one person would practice at a time, but the other person would take over. But we were actually online because at this point it was COVID. So we had these workshops online. And when it would get to me, I would turn my Wi-Fi off because I was so nervous. I was so nervous to interact, and I was just really scared to do it in front of like this small group of people and an examiner. And I realized that I really had to address this issue I had because I couldn't escape OSCEs. And like I said, I was someone that was really I really cared about academic achievement, so I wanted to score high in whatever it was that I had to do. So I decided to organize like a plan for preparing for my OSCEs. I put together a small group of like me and 2 other people to optimize for 1 examiner, 1 actor, and 1 student. And I ended up creating the scenarios. So I made a plan all the way until our exams, and we did those practice sessions. And I created a lot of the scenarios because I couldn't find any. I couldn't find any scenarios that were suitable for the level that we were at. There were a few that were for maybe final year OSCEs, but not for year 2 OSCEs. So I'd written them, and then what I kind of realized while I was doing it is these could actually help the rest of the year group. So I started getting them checked by our CTFs, which is our clinical teaching fellows, so like the doctors that supervise us during small group teaching. I got them each checked by 2 CTFs, and then I bought a Squarespace website and just stuck them on there. And I remember just coming up with the name OSCE Toolbox, sticking with it, going on like a logo generator, generating the logo, and just putting them all on the Squarespace website. And the logo generator picked the color as well, actually. That's where the color came from. And then OSCE Toolbox started, and I'd emailed out the link just before exams. And then loads of people started coming up to me like after OSCEs and saying, "Are you the OSCE Toolbox girl? OSCE Toolbox like saved me for my OSCEs." And it was just really overwhelming. And I thought maybe I could turn this into a business. And then as it happened, over like that next month or something, Geeky Medics put out a load of stations that were suitable for the same level. So I thought, okay, I don't need to do anything because it's already been dealt with by a larger company that has a lot. So I kind of just continued about my life and I wasn't really thinking about it. And now this is where it gets to pharmacy. So I have a friend that studies pharmacy, and I've actually tutored him since he did foundation year, and I tutored him since then, which sounds strange. But what happened was I tutored him for foundation year, which was essentially A-level chemistry content, and he had to do a lot of convincing. And because he liked my style of teaching so much, he just kept badgering me to keep tutoring him. So I did it, even with the disclaimer that I don't study pharmacy. If something bad happens, it's not on me. But he's made it so far. And when it came to his OSCEs, I looked around, no resources. No resources, just a couple of outdated books. The actual university that wasn't really providing him with many resources. And I thought, okay, looks like this issue applies to pharmacy a lot more than it does to medicine. If you Google OSCE in medicine, so many things will come up. If you do the same thing for pharmacy, there's not a lot. There's a couple of books, a couple of articles about how to prepare for OSCEs. And right now there's just our website. So that's how OSCE Toolbox for pharmacy students was born. In terms of managing it alongside medicine, it was very slow at first. It took several months to actually get the website, the MVP, ready together and to do pilot testing at De Montfort University as well. I didn't do it alone. I knew to actually do it, I needed to hold myself accountable in some way to do it alongside medicine. So I actually put together a team. And the team were people that I was friends with that I knew had a lot of potential. And so I just handpicked people. Most of these people were people that weren't involved in projects, because at this point, the type of people that were involved with a lot of projects were too busy to do something like this. So I took a chance on a lot of people, built a team, and right now they're amazing. So we still essentially have the same core team as we did when we first started. And we have weekly meetings every single week about the progress. We share updates on our tasks, and we have different areas. So I've got somebody who does like marketing, someone that manages social media, someone that manages our contracts and like business side of things, someone that manages like customer experience. So, and they're, most of them are students, medical students, pharmacy students, and we have a software developer. So yeah.
That is awesome. I love it when an idea just flourishes into lots of other things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I've been through a similar journey with Pharmacist Diaries, and I didn't initially think to build a team because it was only just sort of the podcast itself. I had Sanjay, obviously, for the tech side of things, and we started really small by looking at just audio episodes. Then we started doing the kind of like virtual video, and then he developed his skills in face-to-face video. So the podcast kind of developed in accordance to Sanjay's passions with videography, and as he developed his skill set, he was like, oh, let's try this, or let's try this. So I guess we were a team. We always have been. And I've had little stints where I've had interns who are students who've come to support me and learn about podcasting, editing, social media, how to manage, finding guests on the podcast. But what I admire about your story, just from meeting you in a very short space of time, is how much that you've built in the tiniest amount of time. I'm nearly 5 years into my journey. And yes, I've got this amazing podcast, and it's very time consuming to do start to finish on one episode, including guest outreach, researching the guest, understanding who they are, what we want to talk about, booking a call with them just to get a feel for who they are, and whether or not they'll be suitable, actually doing the recording, doing the editing, doing all the clips, publishing it, all the social media, etc., etc. I mean, that whole process is like 15 hours plus each week. So you can see that takes up the most of my time. But the podcast has been kind of my launch pad for so many other things, whether it's, public speaking opportunities, doing things internationally, having been flown out to Germany to work on projects, which is just insane, and just meeting people from all over the world. But I don't feel like I'm really like business savvy. And for you to be a student who's really like working hard, studying for the start of your professional life, and to just see this gap and create something from it and realize, actually, I don't want to do this alone. And if I'm going to go big, I need a team of people from the get-go, that you just included multiple other students in the journey. You identified like an HR professional who could do what and who's got the skill sets. Like that's a talent in itself. And then thinking really big, like what kind of contracts can we have? How can we get funding? Like, I'm nowhere near that. I'm actually afraid of that. I'm afraid of like looking for investment. I don't know. I know that sounds crazy, doesn't it? And people would probably watch this episode or listen to me speaking and be like, that's not the Anisha that we see on LinkedIn, right? But I just think that I'm more of a pharmacist than I think I am. And my mindset is kind of always in one lane, and I need to start like broadening my mindset and kind of thinking of the bigger picture. I kind of let opportunities come to me. I don't always kind of like search for things. Maybe because I'm really strapped for time. I'm working full time. I'm trying to build this. I've got 2 kids. I've got a family life. So it's really hard to actually think so much bigger, because sometimes when you commit to a massive idea, you got to commit the time that comes with it. And maybe you have a bit more free time than I do. But I also think your generation is super savvy in so many different ways. I don't know, like, how do you think?
It's interesting to hear you say that you don't think you're business savvy, because you from when I first met you, we had our first meeting, I thought, wow, she's so business savvy. It's so interesting to hear you say it. Maybe that's just a bit of imposter syndrome, because I do think you're a lot more business savvy than you think. And the thing is, I think you're right about our generation, because there's so much availability of information. So almost every day, I listen to a podcast episode of some sort, or I watch a video. A lot of them are business orientated, and I read a lot of business books. So the availability of information just increases, and more people are putting free content out there as a great lead to, to pipeline and funnel into sales. So there is a lot of information, and there is a bit of a startup revolution happening now as well, where a lot more people are starting startups, younger people too. So I do agree that it's our generation is sort of benefiting from that. So it is probably easier. But I want the viewers / listeners as well to understand, I live at home. I don't do any grocery shopping. I don't do cooking. I don't have kids. So I only clean my own room when I clean. Like, I don't have to clean the whole house or anything like that. So I have a lot of flexibility. And being in medical school, since I've had placements, you can be a bit more flexible with your schedule compared to when you have rigid lectures at certain times. So I often play with my schedule like Tetris, and that means I can optimize for when I want to do things. And a lot of it is evening meetings as well with the team, because we're all students. Our meetings are always pretty much in the evenings or weekends. So I have a lot of flexibility. So I just want to highlight that for anyone who thinks that, maybe they don't do enough or anything like that, that I have a lot of flexibility, which I've benefited from. But yeah, definitely the availability of information has been really high. And I actually, when I was in secondary school, I did do business at GCSE. And I remember learning about entrepreneurship, and one of the key words was risk. And I recognized, I thought at the time, I said, I'm risk averse. I couldn't do it. This is fun to learn about, but I'm not doing it. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to get my guaranteed job, and I'm going to climb the ranks. And I'm not about this risk averse. I'm just going to work for the man. And now I realize I love both. The more when I got into business, when I got into OSCE Toolbox, I got a taste for it, and I thought, I can't ever stop this. And now my plan is to do medicine half the time and do business the other half of the time. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Pharmacists are totally risk averse. We are the absolute definition of risk averse humans. We do not like risk. Maybe your generation is going to be different, but generally we are very risk averse, and maybe because we're taught so much about risk with medicines
Mm-hmm.
and everything is about medication safety and stay in your lane, that it's embedded into the university degree, and we don't have that much flexibility with creativity. We're very factual. We're very science-based, very evidence-based. And so are medical students as well, to be fair. But again, I think your generation is very different. I even, when you look at employment now and you look at junior pharmacists who have spent, 4 years studying and then they start their role as a pharmacist in the hospital, they quite quickly identify that actually they chose pharmacy, they wanted to do it, but they've made the decision to leave pharmacy because of the risk of burnout, or there's a lot of work that needs to be involved with working for the NHS, and they know that they want a bit more work-life balance, whilst, multiple years ago, all of us would just accept that you've got to just grind.
Mm-hmm.
And it was part and parcel of being a healthcare professional, and we accepted it. But I think nowadays, young people also think so highly of their mental health, as they should, and what work-life balance really means to them, that they make a shift in terms of career decisions. And my generation are more loyal, and we really prioritize the employer over ourselves and the patient over ourselves, which is so different. And I'm seeing that more and more with some of the students as well, in terms of their perception of what pharmacy's like and what their career journey is going to be like. And it's just interesting from the point of view that you want to do half entrepreneurship, half business. What I've realized is that as an employee, like, I have to do what I'm told to some respect. Like, I have to follow the rules. There's loads of policies. I have to ask 20 people permission to get funding for something. It takes like a year to find funding to even hire a new member of staff. And becoming an entrepreneur and doing something for fun, I make all the decisions. I do things the way I want to. I am in control. And I've realized how much I've fallen in love with that. And I'm like, this is it. Like, why the heck didn't I not figure this out 10 years ago? Because I absolutely can be an entrepreneur and I enjoy it so much. And I need to make a shift in terms of my mindset now of building my own team, having my own employees, nurturing young pharmacy students or early careers professionals to pick entrepreneurship. That does excite me. It does scare me as well, but it does excite me to bring people into the Pharmacist Diaries team and making sure that I pick the right people, the people who understand my values, the company's values, all of those things. I mean, these are big decisions, right? Mm. And you are everything in your business. You're HR, you're the marketing person, you're the sales navigator, your customer service. Right now, I do it all. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing that with other people. And I'm looking forward to seeing from your perspective how you're going to also balance what it's like to work as a doctor, potentially part-time, or if you go full-time and hustle on the side. Have you actually thought how you can make that balance a reality for you?
I have. I think the hard fact is that I know that I shouldn't go full-time. I don't think I want to go full-time at any point, actually, as a doctor. And I think that's part of why I've been dabbling so early in entrepreneurship, and why I've even taken this year out from medicine to buy myself extra time before I actually have to go into employment, is because I want to be able to go into medicine at most maybe 70% of the time to begin with, and then I want to slim that down to 50% of the time, because I love medicine. But I know that because I've learned myself very well, I know I will burn out if I do it 100% of the time, and I don't want to fall out of love with medicine. So I think I've been setting myself up now, learning the ropes of kind of entrepreneurship, and the plan is to have several more kind of startups or engagement with business after OSCE Toolbox, and aside from OSCE Toolbox. I don't want to let OSCE Toolbox go. So yeah, aside from OSCE Toolbox, and I think that's the plan, is to sort of just build on the entrepreneurship, to be in a position where I don't have to go full time as soon as I graduate. And I know that trading will take longer. I'm happy with that. I don't think that there's anything specifically, at the end of the day, once I become a consultant, it's like, yeah, I'm a consultant, I'm still working. It doesn't really make a difference to me if my trading is slower. I'm not bothered. Yeah.
God, I like that mindset.
Thanks.
It's because you found something that you also love. That's why.
Yeah.
And you found something that you're really passionate about, and you want the flexibility to be able to build on that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that. What I do want to do is dive into OSCE Toolbox.
Okay.
Because if I take you back to that initial journey where you were building your team, you chose your humans, you chose your people, your tribe.
Yeah.
And you're having those initial meetings about what OSCE Toolbox is going to be like, and you were brainstorming what you wanted to actually produce and give to people. What was the initial sort of like early concept of where you started?
It's actually not too far from where we've just pretty much stuck to the vision. The vision was that we'll be, the way that people know Geeky Medics for medicine, pharmacy students will know OSCE Toolbox. It will be a pharmacy student household name, the go-to revision resource for OSCEs, and we'll have a very extensive base of resources and diversified products that people can actually use that work for a lot of different people. And that is where we've become. A lot of people do know about OSCE Toolbox. We've had, this year alone, we've had around 2,000 registered users. And to put that into perspective, there's 18,000 using UCAS data, just under 18,000 pharmacy students in the UK. So that's quite a large amount of people. And this has all happened in a year. So we've actually stuck to that vision quite a lot when we go to events as well. A lot of people already know who we are. We've seen the reviews that come in from testimonials when people have, passed their OSCEs, or they fill out our kind of customer service surveys with how they're getting on with the website. It's just been amazing to see. And even though we had that in our vision, when it actually started happening, it was really surreal. It's still very surreal now, thinking that we were having these meetings talking about OSCE Toolbox, and the OSCE Toolbox name wasn't extended anywhere beyond those meetings, those little teams meetings. And now a lot of people know it. And I'm here on a podcast with Anisha from the Pharmacist Diaries talking about it. So yeah, we've stuck to that initial concept, but it's been very surreal actually achieving it.
Awesome. I love that. And it's good. Do you know what I've read in terms of business books and entrepreneurship is like, do one thing and do it really well.
Yeah.
And when I first started Pharmacist Diaries, I was trying to dabble in loads of other things. And how can I build? How can I extend my brand? And Sanjay allowed me to kind of explore that because I wanted to. But I learned from my own mistakes that actually do one thing and do it really, really well. And that's why I've sort of really focused on driving the podcast itself forward, and why all those other opportunities have actually flooded my emails, because people can see the shift, people can see the growth, the change. And it's really clear now through social media where I've come from and where I am today. And from, I say I'm not like business savvy, but at the same time, I know how to like motivate myself and inspire myself to like take the next step and kind of make all those kind of like small improvements. I know I'm good at that. Why is it that OSCEs matter so much to pharmacy students, medical students, and being like a solid healthcare professional? What's your perspective on that?
I think with OSCEs is as far as assessment goes, they are the closest proxy to actual clinical practice, because it's all about the actual patient engagement, which is such a large part of why so many people go into healthcare fields in the first place, is because they want to help people. They want to directly help patients and colleagues as well, working in a team with other people. And that's generally what OSCEs are assessing. A lot of them are interactions with patients or colleagues, especially in pharmacy. And essentially, a lot of OSCEs are you doing the thing that they expect you to do when you graduate. So whether that be certain discussions or maybe writing or reviewing prescriptions, etc. So getting OSCEs right, I think someone would be able to generally say that if someone is performing really well in OSCEs, there's a chance that they'll be quite good at doing that in the actual clinical environment. Now, of course, it depends on how close the OSCEs are to the actual clinical environment per university. But a lot of the time, and actually through studies, OSCEs are shown to be one of the best ways to actually assess students. they have their issues, with them being marked subjectively, etc. However, overall, they're a great way to assess healthcare students specifically. And it's not just pharmacy students and medical students that have it. It's actually physiotherapy students have OSCEs as well. Ophthalmology students have OSCEs too, nursing students. So yeah, it applies to all healthcare students.
Yeah, completely true. I mean, I remember mine very clearly. They were torture. And it would be really stressful as a student, when you look at the pain points of OSCEs. People do go through severe anxiety and they can freeze. I've had multiple students cry in my station and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad because it's not me, but it is me because I'm the one assessing them. And then I also have the other way around where students come to my station and they automatically feel relaxed because they know me well and they know that I'm a lecturer that they can connect with and they're chilled out with and they're like, oh yes, good. Because it's hard when you've got an actor there as well, pretending to be a real patient. It can be really challenging. And as a lecturer, I'm always, on the other side, seeing how students respond. But one thing that really helped me personally when I had OSCEs was that I was working in a community pharmacy throughout my journey. So every Saturday, the whole day, I'm in a community pharmacy doing the OSCE every day.
Yeah.
I'm asking patients who come to the counter what their problems are. I'm gathering information. I'm recommending products that they can use over the counter for minor ailments or insomnia, pain. I'm having to communicate the side effects of medications, how to take them. And that practice week in, week out made it just so much easier to do the communication element. So I had a lot of confidence when it came to the stations where you had a patient on the other side. And some of the pharmacy OSCEs aren't always sort of patient-facing. You've got calculations and other things that we get students to do. But things are shifting.
Yes.
OSCEs are shifting. Expectations for students are shifting. We look at, 2026, every single pharmacy student will qualify as a prescriber. So expectations in terms of what OSCEs look like for pharmacy students now is going to be very different to what OSCEs are going to look like going forward. And maybe you can dive into that.
Yeah. So with OSCEs going forward, the key theme is that they're going to be a lot more interactive and there'll be a lot more emphasis on OSCEs. So because the new pharmacy, the new GPHC standards are they open up responsibilities a lot more for pharmacists. So that includes things that, of course, the obvious is prescribing, but also there is more emphasis on actual patient interactions as well and using diagnostic reasoning. So a lot of OSCE, so for example, I do know of a university that's removed the non-interactive OSCE stations and replaced them with just interactive OSCE stations. So where they're actually interacting with an actor who could be a patient or a colleague. And that includes, and OSCEs are now obviously going to be including prescription writing too. So there will definitely be some changes in OSCEs. And I think the key word with what you mentioned in preparing for OSCEs is practice. So you got that practice through your job at a community pharmacy. And we do notice that a lot of students find that they are much better prepared for OSCEs when they've had that practice. However, the issue is, of course, for students that they don't get that opportunity to practice through a job, or where their practice is limited to whatever they do get to see on that job, they're not able to get that practice. And that practice is such a key part of being able to deal and minimize against that stress and anxiety that you have. When you've practiced enough, you get to a point where you feel like you are ready to tackle any station that you're given. And it doesn't matter who the examiner is or who the actor is and whether they're going to be angry or moody or anything. You need to be in a position where you feel ready to tackle anything. And that's what I define as OSCE ready. And that's how I felt after all my practice sessions. And that's what we want our students to feel like at OSCE Toolbox. And I feel then that you get to the second pain point that a lot of students have, which is like, okay, well, what do I use to practice? Do I write my own scenarios? But how do I know that they're realistic? How do I know that how do I know I'm actually marking myself correctly? But, a group of students, you might just be making it up as you go along. So that's where our scenarios come in. So we have over 200 scenarios on the website that people can use to practice. And we do have some non-interactive scenarios as well for students that still have that. And we have full mark schemes, which have been independently reviewed by 2 separate pharmacists. And they've been through a very rigorous checking and quality control process. All of our scenarios have. So we hopefully provide the resources that students can then use to practice. So all they need to do is actually use the resources and just practice everything that they can as much as possible. And hopefully that helps mitigate against some of that stress and anxiety.
Yeah, no, I love that. And just going back to the point of getting the experience outside of pharmacy, I truly think it's really valuable to step into a community pharmacy or a hospital, working, doing more than just being a student and going on to placements that you do as part of your degree. But I also think that there is something special with students identifying what they actually love about pharmacy and what they enjoy about the degree, which might not be patient facing. So if they want a job on the weekends where they're in a high street store and they're, just doing general sales, or they have an online job where they're completely non-patient facing, like these skills will provide you with so much more than just the patient interaction. I don't want to pressurize students to feel like they have to step into a community pharmacy for a job in order to be a great student, because you don't. There are so many other skills and transferable skills that are valuable in terms of what pharmacy has to offer. And the degree and the curriculum as kind of like a basic foundation is very clinically driven. Like we have to make sure that you're ready to tackle patient care, because that is kind of the majority of what jobs offer when you're a newly qualified pharmacist. But obviously with Pharmacist Diaries, we're trying to expand people's mindset to realize that, hey, if you don't want to be patient facing, cool, you still got to pass your OSCEs and be amazing. But you can also go into all the things from leadership, finance, IT, the digital side, health tech companies are hiring pharmacists. So just kind of like widening those skill set as well. So tell us a little bit about OSCE Toolbox from the point of like exactly what services are offered to students and what is sort of the payment structure. Is it a flat fee, like a membership option? How do you charge people as well?
So, in terms of let me adjust my notes for a sec. So in terms of the services we offer, we've got on our website, I'd say we've got 3 core offerings. So number 1 being our bank of scenarios. So that's the most extensive. So we've got over 200 scenarios that have full mark schemes that have all been reviewed and all been through a quality control process. And we actually do now, we did a recent new release on the scenarios. So the marks are now mapped to certain skills as well. So you can actually have a look at the breakdown of your scores and different skills as to patient-centeredness, decision-making, patient safety, patient education. So that's something that's we're really proud of with our scenarios. Secondly, we've got videos. So we have videos which actually tie to the scenarios that we have. So we have videos of exemplar versions of the scenarios actually happening. So we've got 2 actors, one acting as a student and one acting as the patient, and exactly using the scenario that we have on our website, having that conversation occur, and it flashes up on the screen when the student's achieved a mark. That way students can actually see, when we say demonstrates empathy in the mark scheme, what do we mean? How do you actually demonstrate empathy? And we'll have it pop up when the student uses a certain phrase or a certain tone and asks a certain question that's actually utilizing that skill. And then thirdly, on the website, we have info capsules. So these are kind of little crib sheets on conditions or management options that just sort of pack very, very info-backed into kind of a nice, colorful infographic that just is easy to kind of look over and learn the key points of conditions. And different students, have different focuses. Some will only care about the scenarios. Some will care about the info capsules the most. And I've seen that in our feedback, how students use the website differently, which is always really interesting. So that's the 3 key offerings on our website, I would say. In terms of payment structure, at the minute we operate on a freemium model. So we have a few of each of those resources for free, and then to access the rest, you have to get a subscription. So only one subscription, it's flat tier. So it just has a monthly, termly, and annual option. So the monthly option is $14.99 a month, and then termly option is £37.98 for 3 months, which a lot of students purchase if it's just for, just in the run up to OSCEs. And then you have the annual one, which is it's just under 100. I can't remember the exact figure with the pennies, but there are going to be some changes coming to that model, which I won't say too much on, but it's going to be a big change. And from the perspective of a student, I imagine they'll be very happy about it. Other offerings that we have is we have our newsletter. So our newsletter, which you can sign up to at the bottom of our website, we do any updates on the website, announcements before everyone else gets to hear about it. The newsletter always gets everything first. Discount codes and any exclusive resources. Sometimes we just send out some freebies in the newsletter as well. And we've got a little series coming on some top tips for OSCEs too. And then lastly is our social media. So we're on Instagram and TikTok at OSCE Toolbox, and there we post interactive scenarios pretty much every week, which are little short versions of the scenarios that come up and just give you a little clinical vignette. It only takes a few seconds to do, just checking in every day. And pharmacy news of the week, which actually a lot of clinicians refer to as well. So we have just news on things that are happening in the industry, and with even things like medicine supply and medicine recalls as well. We have all that information on our social media. Yeah.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Me
I'm
too.
excited for pharmacy students, to be honest. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they improve with their confidence with additional resources. Because you're right, like, there isn't that much available. I believe there's one book that I used. I can't remember the name of it, but it just, highlights scenarios, how you would tackle it, answers. But nowadays, you want to be able to learn through video format. You want to be able to have a mark scheme that you can, what are the tick box sort of things that you need to be able to answer when you're going through an OSCE, and also in a nice format and structure that you can relate to. And it will just be great to supplement, because we do a lot of OSCEs in the undergraduate degree. We train them. We do the, pre-OSCE sessions where it's all mock, but I still feel like we only do it certain times of the year. So if you really do want to master OSCEs, having access to a resource that you can use, even if it's like 2 to 3 hours each month, you're more likely to succeed. And you do them every year as a pharmacy student. And each year you're building on those skills. So it's just going to be super valuable. Oh, I'm so excited. So everyone who is sort of watching this video, hopefully, or you're listening to the audio version, make sure that you go and check out OSCE Toolbox in terms of the website. It will be in the show notes. Make sure you sign up to the newsletter, because you will get all of those additional resources. You'll get information that comes pre-launch to the website, or where other people on social media would be finding out about, and connect with Leya, obviously, through social media. She'd be really happy to hear from you. And she's very good answering emails and kind of information, and she's clearly got a customer service team available to kind of answer questions. So that's the end of this week's episode. But we will be coming back for episode 2 of the series, where we will be diving into pharmacy versus medicine. So watch this space. Here's a mistake most people make when choosing a supplement: not considering the source of the ingredients. Many supplements use synthetic vitamins within their ingredients. This means they have been made in bulk in factories to mimic natural vitamins. They are chemically identical to vitamins found in nature, and often more cost-effective and widely available. However, and this is the most important point to remember, natural supplements and those that come from plants, fruits, or other natural sources have additional benefits and often contain extra nutrients, fibers, and plant compounds that support your overall health, and they are generally easier for the body to absorb. Check out thenakedpharmacy.com, where you can find naturally sourced supplements for your health and well-being. Use code PD20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase.